Witches, grab your goat. Grab something to drink, something tall to drink, because it is time for the Witches Movie Coven. All by myself. We are witches talking about witches in movies, and you get to join the conversation right here, right now, in real time. We're glad that you are here. We are today talking about the movie Oddity. I just finished watching it. Ooh. Who are we? I am Patti Negri. I am one of your hosts. You might know me from my podcast, The Witching Hour, or from Ghost Adventures, or from my work with Overnight Crew. Or from here, there, and everywhere. But let me introduce you or pass this on to my beautiful co-hosts. Let's start with lovely Courtney Buckley.
That's me. I'm Courtney Buckley, Ghost Bait on Scared and Alone, resident Salem witch, and I'm excited to be here tonight, I gotta say. Any hexes can come my way tonight because this was my pick.
Yay, thank you very much. And she popped in. Hello, beautiful. We'll get to you more. Yay. All right. First, okay, before we get there, Richard-Lael, say hey.
Hi, Richard-Lael is one name, not two. If I were just Richard, I would be a. That's right. I am known as the gentleman psychic. I'm a psychic medium. I used to be a psychic small, but I gained some weight. I am really easy to find. I am a little bit of everywhere. You may have seen me on Ghost Adventures. You may have seen me at University of Magicus. You may find me on some street corners. I don't know. Sometimes. You never know. With that, I am Richard-Lael.
Thank you very much. And of course, the one and only Heather Green.
Hi, that's me. I am a editor at Llewellyn Worldwide, working with wonderful authors, all writing about witchcraft and other occult topics, one of whom is sitting here in our coven, and we'll talk about that later. And I am also a journalist covering occult in the media, and I'm working on a really fun article right now, and I can't wait to be able to tell you about that. Oops. Can you hear me better now? I just got a message. My mic was not showing. It's actually not on camera. There we go. There's my radio mic. And I am also the author of Lights, Camera, Witchcraft, which is the definitive guide to witches in American film and television from the beginning to 2020 and beyond. And you can find me on social media here and in running Mystic South in July. I hope to see you all there.
Thank you very much. Now, we do not have the lovely Jason Mankey today, but we have someone even more lovely with even lovelier locks. Peeking right down there, dear friend, wonderful, amazing woman, Bloody Mary. Welcome, Bloody Mary. Hi.
Greetings. Glad to be able to join you, and even had time to watch our movie last night.
Yay.
So I'm Bloody Mary, New Orleans. You can find me here. You can find me in the mirror. You can find me online, and I have a haunted museum. I do ghost hunts, readings all the time, and I'm a voodoo queen and a voodoo mambo and an author too. So, look for me. You'll find me.
We'll find you. Can you sit taller or move your camera down a bit?
Sorry, I can't see it because I'm only using my phone. It's only showing me a little bit.
All we see is your eyes. Okay, a little further. We can all do this together. Up, more.
It's not letting me see the picture. That is the problem, to know what I'm doing.
There. Stop.
Once my tilt changes, I'm going to have to move this whole setup. But I'll do that. You all talk. We don't have to look at my...
Okay, well, she's working on that. It's a lovely view either way, but we'd like to see more of that lovely face of yours. Today's movie, Oddity. Hope you all watched it. It's a recent film, 2024, I do believe. And if you didn't watch it, just in case, Richard-Lael, do you have an unbiased synopsis of this lovely film?
I do certainly have an unbiased synopsis of this film. This is, as you mentioned, Oddity, 2004. It is a film that begins with a murder. Like every good films, they always begin with murder. So this one is, in fact, an unaliving of this woman while her doctor husband is working nights, slaving away in a mental hospital. like all good doctors do. And so it cuts again to present day. Apparently, you find out that that was in the past, and this doctor enters into this curiosity shop, which is hosted or owned by a blonde woman who's also a psychic and a medium. And she has a rather strange way of greeting her guests by saying that everything in her shop is cursed or haunted. And so as they approach, you find out that this is the husband of her sister, who was the murder victim all that time before. He presents her with an eye, a glass eye, and as it turns out, it was supposed to be the killer of her sister. So they leave. She decides she's going to come up and pay a visit, and it turns out that he didn't wait very long at all before getting into another relationship after the murder. She pays a visit. The girlfriend is not happy to be there. She wants to leave. She wants to go back to the city. She's afraid to be in the dark, and I don't blame her because, again, the previous wife was murdered in that house, and the sister comes in with a very peculiar gift, a gift that was presented to her mother. It's a wooden dummy that has all sorts of holes in it. There's a lot of plot holes, and that's one of them. It has a lot of holes in it, and inside are these little things. Now, of course, yes, we move things out of the top of the head. As it turns out, long story short, the doctor goes back to work. The clairvoyant medium realizes that, for one, he had been cheating on her sister long before, and that it was not the man with the glass eye who had murdered her sister. It was, in fact, the assistant, the orderly, who looked like a serial killer to begin with. And the bigger plot twist is you find out that he was ordered, this orderly, by the doctor to murder the wife because he didn't want to lose his house. So he says to her, okay, the girl drives away, the girlfriend, the wife drives away, and she has left this blind woman in the house who is, of course, being stalked by, again, this orderly. And the woman is blind. And another plot hole, the doctor takes his mobile phone and he sets it down. He says, I'm going to go back to the city. There's signal right here. I'm going to go back to the city. And when I call this number, I need you to pick up that phone and I need you to talk to that phone because I'm going to give you the evidence that man with the glass eye killed your sister. So he goes back to the city, and the phone rings and she picks it up and she falls through a trap door. Why is there a trap door? Because it's a plot hole. That's why she falls through that plot hole and she lands kerplunk on her back. And then, of course, the orderly comes in and he calls the doctor and he tells him that he found the mobile phone and that it had sustained quite a fall and that it was broken. It was still on, but it wouldn't survive such a fall, meaning, of course, double-coded for the woman. And this blind psychic witch ends up by connecting with this wooden figure who has chased down and stalked the orderly. When the orderly is discovered, he finds himself in a mental institution because he apparently had been asking for a priest, said that he had this wooden creature had come to life and had stalked him through the house. And so the doctor, knowing that this man is his undoing, says, well, I recommended that you be here and you're on these medications. He goes back to the house, the good doctor, and had received, I forgot to mention this, he received another gift from the blind psychic, which was that of a guest bell at a hotel. Now, according to the legend, ding, 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 when the bell was rung, a ghostly figure of a bellboy would appear, and it was the last people who rang the bell were found dead. And so this very rational doctor who does not believe in the paranormal, does not believe in ghosts, he decides, you know what? I'm going to ring that bell. And he does. He rings that bell. Oh, that's not a very good ring. That's also not a very good ring. Anyway, he rings the bell. He rings the bell, and he waits and waits and waits. Here we go. We got a bell. I think we got a bell. Is that a bell, Mary?
Yeah.
Bloody Mary?
And the right time.
There it is. She's got the desk bell right there. Rings the.
Oh my
See,
goodness.
there's a desk bell. More bells.
Am I calling?
So they ring the bell, and he sits there in the dark, and then over his shoulder appears this ghostly figure of the bellboy. And that is the end. Roll credits, spoilers, and all. There were so many plot holes that I told you all about them.
Thank you.
But
Thank you,
good.
Heather. We completely understand the film. Heather, lovely Heather, our academic on this situation. Is there other maybe more things that we do need to know about the film? With our
Sure. I have a few things. Not as many as some, but I've got some interesting things to talk about. So first, I'll mention some basics. Then we'll go over a few of the actors. And then we're going to talk about the wooden creature that's sitting lovely at the table. And I'm going to spend 3 and 4 talking about that topic. And then 5, some trend assessments, which might be interesting for y'all. So first, let's just talk about basics. First of all, it came out in 2024. It showed first in I believe it was the spring at South by Southwest, the Indie Film Festival. And it did win some awards. It was played at midnight, I believe, and people loved watching it at that time. It had that creep factor that was perfect for a midnight showing. And then eventually aired. I'm speaking like it's television. It eventually hit screens in the UK later in that summer, and it has done pretty well, successfully. Its budget has not been released. I looked in a number of places, I couldn't find the exact budget, but it is low budget. And other films of this type are usually are this low budget horror, or usually they could be as low as 15,000. I mean, you're talking about low budget. How low this was, I do not know. But it is considered an indie film with a low budget, and is typically just a small number of actors, and more or less filmed in one place. And apparently one of our Coven members in the chat lives right by where this was filmed in Ireland. Colin, if you want to say the name of the town or the name of the castle or the farm it was filmed at, please share that in the comments, because apparently you live close to it. So it was filmed in one location. In fact, it was the same location as the director, Damian McCarthy's other film that he's known for, Caveat. So it was the same location he used in both cases, but it's made a reasonable, close to 2 million, from what I understand, internationally. So it's doing pretty well, and it's pretty popular. It gets pretty good reviews. So let me talk about the actors real quick. These actors are not ones that you're going to have seen all over. They're not necessarily known, but there's a few that are worth mentioning. You have Carolyn, and I can't read my handwriting as usual, Brecker. She's the one, these are mostly Irish actors. She's the one who plays the main character, the blind sister, as well as the other sister. They're twins.
Wait a minute. You mean it was one woman playing 2 characters, 2 sisters? How can that be? They weren't really
Movie
twins?
magic.
They did that in Sinners.
Wow.
They did that in Sinners too. Go see Sinners. They did it in Sinners.
It's like a Freaky Friday or something. That's freaky.
It's an oddity, isn't it?
That is truly an oddity.
They keep coming. So she was in You Are Not My Mother and in Quiet Girl. These are not necessarily films you might have heard of, but you may have. I'm going to talk about Tag, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Murphy, he's the one who played the guy with the glass eye. Apparently, there's another film about that particular character that the director wrote and direct. But this guy here, he was also in Black Sails, if you watch that TV show, as well as Vikings, if you watch that one, and Northman. I don't recognize him from either one, but he was also in the TV reboot of Time Bandits. Did not watch that. Someone here said he was also in probably the current version of The Shining, or does that just? I did not see that on the list.
Does it ring a bell?
No.
There you go.
We have Steve Wall. He was in Dune, part 2. I didn't recognize him, but the Ghost Train and the English. So I think Colin's chiming in here. He says he thinks it's Banty Park House, about 60 miles from where he lives. And he's adding here, I'll read this, a lot of A-listers live down there, like Jeremy Irons, who owns a castle nearby. So that's pretty much where this was filmed. It was a beautiful setting, I have to say. And some of the other actors appeared in the director's first film, Caveat. So these are not actors that are well known, but they have been in a bunch of things. They're just not films that you are going to see regularly on your local Netflix station. So the third number I want to talk about is this wooden creature. This wooden creature is very much fits into the golem category of magic. And the golem, there it is, frightening in all respects. You can't tell if it's clay or wood, but she does say it is wood, which is classic to the golem story. It is a golem comes from the Jewish folklore, not from Lord of the Rings originally. And it is the idea of this bringing this earthbound, earth-created creature to life to help, to protect, to do something for you. So that is this Jewish folklore. It is very old. I am not a Judaic scholar, so I don't know how old the golem is, but there is evidence of talk of it back before medieval times. It has been around a long time, the concept. And what's interesting to me, and the original golem was supposed to be out of a mud or dirt, but is out of an earthbound material. So this one's wood. It counts in my mind. But what's interesting to me is the link of the golem, the original golem, the concept from Jewish folklore, to other stories that we have discussed here and other stories that are prevalent when we talk about witchcraft and folklore. And that's particularly talking about the scarecrow, the Bootseman in Pennsylvania Dutch culture, or the movie Pumpkinhead, which, everyone who's listened to me talk knows it's one of my favorite horror movies. And this comes from this was in Hawthorne's story. Of course, Nathaniel Hawthorne, coming from Salem, he wrote a story where witches are in a living scarecrow made from earth creatures in their own hands to protect and to do their magic and to do what they need to do. This is a typical, this connects, this creature we see here is very much connected to the golem, very much connected to the legacy of the scarecrow. The golem in Lord of the Rings is a slightly different thing. It's not exactly the same thing. That's a transformation of a living creature. That's not the golem we're talking about here. But this idea of the scarecrow, of this living being being created to protect, is very much in line with these stories about the scarecrow. And of course, Pumpkinhead, just go back to Pumpkinhead. What I think is interesting here is that Pumpkinhead movie also links to this, because you have the connection between the Pumpkinhead and the main character, who want justice done for themselves. And in the end, they regret some of what they did. They know they're going to hell for what they did, but they did what they did. So there's an interesting connection between those two. I think that's fascinating to study. I would go back and watch Oddity again against the Pumpkinhead and against that lore. And we can also connect that, Patti, to puppet work. That's not far. Now this is, there's Pumpkinhead. There's my favorite guy. And this also connects to puppet work. And what's interesting is that the director said before he made this film that he was very interested in movies where dolls become alive. And he wanted to create a movie where the doll itself was human size, which brings us from the puppet to
the golem.
Yeah.
So there's a fine line between really a puppet that you're using and enlivening, or a magical doll, which we talk about too. I've got some new ones back here that are watching us now. They're on the other side. Hold on, I'm backwards. And there's a fine line between that and what we're seeing in this movie with this golem character. Because what she's doing is the golem is created, but then she's adding the pieces in like you would add to a puppet. So it's a very interesting sort of blend in this giant wooden frightening creature. And then the last thing I want to just say is that trend assessments, they're hard to do. I usually like to give you context of why movies are being made at a time. It's hard to do that when you're in the middle. It's hard to tell the full scope of what trees are in a forest when you're in the center of a forest and only can see 5 of them. So it's hard for me to tell you trends, but I will say that this one kind of fits with what we watched what did we watch? Hereditary and some of these other movies that are dark. They often end with the bad guy not fully dying, not really knowing what's going on at the end, which we have the case here. They're usually a slow burn horror. Which is similar to this. This is what I'm seeing, but is that the trend, or is that just what I've been watching recently? I'm not 100% sure, but I've been seeing this, and it flows really well with this idea of society being a little bit unbalanced right now. And you saw that in the 70s. You see this now.
Thank you. That's brilliant. And yes, I was sitting puppet the whole time. It had tag locks. It had everything. It had everything you put into a puppet. It's like,
I read your book.
I
Okay.
thought it was very voodoo and very Nikisi.
Yeah. Tell us.
So animating wooden dolls and carvings and bringing them to life, having either whether small dolls or large Nikisi wooden or clay, because you need the life form in there. The only thing I would argue big time was you wouldn't leave those holes open. Anything could jump in, anything could get out. It's not a contained magic to animate. You would have to have that sealed, possibly unsealed to go in, but it's not that good to go back and forth. Blood is good. You need animal, vegetable, and mineral matter. They probably had all that. The tooth is a nice touch, but I would not have left those darn holes open. Maybe the mouth. And then they could have put a scroll in like they did in the real golem. So a golem and a Nikisi is pretty much the same as you're animating with the building blocks: animal, vegetable, mineral matter, words of power, which were probably done in the actual making. And, I like that it was a golem. And even though it was more wood, which is less heard of, it was still interesting. And there were carvings on the head. There was some form of sigil. It wasn't old Jewish writing, but it was definitely of the mystical variety. So I liked the big mods, kind of big, kind of bulky, but that's what golems were. They weren't fast moving. And I suppose in retrospect, it was probably the golem that killed the man in the asylum that she sent, that squashed him into a million pieces. So it's good to have a golem to do the dirty work,
Thank you.
That's
And speaking, because I have one, Mary makes beautiful and magical dolls.
I have lots of Nikisis and power protectors and regular more little ones that people are used to for, poppets, but the big protectors, the assistants in magic that hold and house spirits that are animated, that may have more ingredients than that guy did. I'm not that big on the picture, but other than that, yeah.
There it
Yeah,
is.
5 holes. And then I can't really still see the symbol. Do you recognize that symbol?
I think
I don't
it
recognize
looks like a bastardization of the Helm of Awe is what it looks like.
It looks like a bastard. Wait.
Yeah, it's
version.
not quite that. I don't think it's quite that.
Not quite.
And does it have more holes than a bowling ball or not? Can you bowl with it? Can you take off the head and multi-purpose? These are important questions.
Yeah, it looks like a bowling ball. It looked like
At first, I was like, what the hell?
my fingers in there.
But the mouth open was good, but too bad it couldn't open close, and they could have put the animated scroll in there and things. But hey, designer to designer. Yeah, he's big.
He's big.
Big and bulky and woody, yeah.
All right. Who wants to chat first? Courtney?
Me, I have so many thoughts about this movie. Okay. I'm pretty sure. So I saw this movie in the theater. I'm pretty sure I texted our group chat while my butt was still in the seat. As soon as I saw that things were being pulled out of his head, I was like, this is witchcraft and we're going to have to talk about this. From a cinematic standpoint, as someone who loves horror movies, and I've talked here a lot about the problems that I have with horror movies, I think that this film did things right for me. The scene where she's watching back and she is seeing her sister get murdered, and there's I think they build tension really nice where she's opening up the tent. You know there's going to be a jump scare, and I think they used the jump scare in this movie very tastefully. You always know that there's going to be a jump scare, it's coming, but they make you wait just slightly too long that you start to think, okay, maybe I got it wrong, and then boom, it gets you. And when that face popped out of the side of the tent, I screamed out loud in the movie theater. I never do that. And I screamed out loud. I thought it was great. It was scary. I think also one of the problems that I have with horror movies is when they show the monster, it always ruins it for me because your imagination is always scarier. However, in this movie, the monster, the golem, I mean, the monster was the husband, but the scary creature, the golem, he was there the whole time. And he was sitting there in the background of shots to the point that it almost made you laugh while you were watching, like, because they would just be casually sitting there talking and he's in the back like, oh my God. Oh, I don't like that one. Put that down. Okay. Well, he's like, no, put it away. Oh, I'm scared and alone. So he's just sitting back there with his mouth open. But then there's like those subtle things where like they change where they're standing in the house and he's in the background, but his head is turned towards them. So it gives that background, like it's like Heather said, it's that slow burn. It didn't have to be in your face with gore and jump scares and everything else, because it was that sense of dread and that keeping you on your edge of your seat, because it's like untrustworthy. You don't know who is doing what. And then cannibals, like, hello, that's amazing. Like biting the guy's toes off and then probably eating him because he didn't have his mask on anymore at the end. That was great. And the other problem that I have with horror movies is the ending. To me, the ending always ruins it. This ending, I remember being blown away in the movie theater. And then tonight when I rewatched it, thinking it was just so awesome, where it again, it's not an in-your-face jump like I was expecting it to be. I was expecting him to ring the bell and then it cut back and then it cut back to his face and the guy's going to be right here or like something. None of that happened. And they did it so many times. And the guy starts to relax, so you start to relax, and then there he is, and he's just chilling there. And you know something terrible is incoming, but we don't have to see it because we know. But it was like that, all right, there it is, like moment. Okay, stop putting that man up. He's so scary. That face with the eyes, he's so creepy. Ugh. Anyway, that's better.
That killer, that monster is human. The golem one is not scary. I rooted for that one. The one in the mask, the serial killer, the human monster, that was the most terrifying. This is the most terrifying monster.
I agree. Monster. And him being like him, when it cuts to him talking to the husband and he's like asking about like staging the murder and then being like, do you want there to be like, is there like a what do you call it?
Essay.
Right.
A sexual component.
Right. And like with like the thrill in his eye, like he's hungry for it. Gross. Like it's terrifying. And then to be a person in that field and what, you can't break up with your wife, so you're gonna just kill her? Like that's happens all the time. So these are real monsters. And you know, sometimes movies like this, if you've been in a situation like that or not like that, but close to that, and or you're afraid of something like that happening, like it gives you a little boost. Like you root for the bad guy sometimes. Not the murderer bad guy, but like the creature bad guy.
And wasn't it funny, Ms. Courtney? I think oops, there goes Black Phillip. The funniest thing about the killer was that he was scarier with his mask off.
Right. Well, That mask was pretty scary, but yes, as a whole, as a character, he was scarier as a man, as a person.
I think
He looked like a killer.
Yeah, he did.
he did. But I think humans are always more scary than ghosts or spirits or anything create. Always. I was actually on a ghost investigation last night, and lots of scary spirits, lots of good spirits, everything. But when we thought a human had gotten in, that was when it got scary. It's like, oh, that was scary. It's like, we're on the middle of Hollywood. This is not okay. They might hurt us. The spirit's not going to hurt us in the same way. So
If I can jump in on that, this gets into get back to my trend assessment, is that one of the things that we've seen since like the last 10 years is this kind of renegotiation of who's the bad guy and who's actually the good guy. We've been seeing it in Marvel movies. We've been seeing it in superhero movies. We've been seeing it we saw it in witch movies, the turning around of
In what movies?
I don't know which movies.
Yay, Heather.
I'm just talking about any, but we've seen this happening where, and you'll hear me talk about this all the time, is that we take these bad characters, some like Maleficent or the Joker, or in Star Wars it happened years ago, but more and more, and also in more recent years, the good guys turning to witchcraft or to turning to these other forms to get the justice they need. And you're seeing that more and more and more. And that's a direct reflection of our society today. That's a direct reflection of where we are psychologically and how that's expressing through our public stories, which is what's coming through. And so you see that over and over again. You see, like in the movie The Witch, another slow burn horror indie, you see that she has to turn to witchcraft. She has to sign her name, and she has to hang out with, living delicious. The only way for her to live deliciously is with Black Phillip. So she turns. Yeah, we all have to hold them up for the. So we have, there they are. So you see this over and over again. And this is another one. We saw it in Hansel and Gretel. We saw it in, there's a bad guy, and then there's people that have to do whatever it takes. And even if that means turning to something that is bad, or just turning to witchcraft and magic, or, having a golem. And that's the whole Hawthorne story. That's the story from the 1800s that he was writing about, that the witch was wrong. She had to turn to the scarecrow and animate him to get her justice because society would not give her justice. That was his moral tale. So that's an interesting, 100 plus years of coming back, that idea.
Right.
I'm having a realization that I would like to share. All of these movies are movies that you just talked about are movies that I love and that I connect with really strongly. And it also, the way that you just described it clicked something in my brain that's also how I practice witchcraft. So I'm not like, people who are not educated on the subject will be like, oh, witchcraft, like, oh, it's scary, or are you a good witch or are you a bad witch? I'm neither. I do good things and I help people protect themselves, but then I also do bad things for people who deserve them or have earned them. And I don't fear,
like, voting down against the killing
obviously,
tree.
to Jason every week because he is terrible. So his awful opinions.
We need to talk about you turning Thumper upside down last week, but we can save that for later.
What?
You need to continue. You need to continue. We'll talk about what you did to Thumper another time.
Yikes. Okay. Anyway, so, but in reality, and it's people always tell me that like they're afraid of what I do when I do bad things, and it's that, to me, it's not a bad thing. I'm restoring balance. Someone did something terrible, so they need to be brought to scales here. So that's how I view it, and I don't fear the retribution, like anything coming back to me, because to me it's justice, and that's the word, it's the justice of the situation. And I don't know, it's the way that you just described it, that like the person, you don't know who's the bad guy because it's all relative and it's all a gray area. I don't know. That just struck a chord with me so hard that like I grew up not having justice, and now I've grown into a witch who gives other people theirs and enjoys movies that everybody gets theirs also.
While we have Bloody Mary, I wanted to go back. There was someone asked Bloody Mary. This was Mystic Whispers podcast. Nicole G asks Bloody Mary, question Bloody Mary, how can we obtain one of your dolls? Thanks.
Oh, easy. Call me. I have blanks that are partially made that are inexpensive with instructions I can send you. And then I have custom ones that I make for your mystical, magical, or protective needs. So you tell me what you want to make custom ones. The more custom, the longer it takes, the more, might cost. And then I have some really cool ones. I've just started pouring my own clay and my own kiln and doing extra portions so I can make real golems and I can add real things inside. So yeah, I make all different kinds. So you can just go to my website, bloodymaryneworleans.com, or call or come to New Orleans and shop at my shop if you're here.
Thank you. Yes, beautiful, 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 amazing, powerful dolls. I want to go back to the husband deciding to kill his wife instead of divorce her.
She said, because she couldn't live without me. Like, that's all I have to tell her.
That's so
because men, come on.
She couldn't live without me, so I'm going to kill you. And I want the house. Yeah.
Yeah, but that happens in real life. That just happened with a friend of ours, Richard-Lael, with Aaron on Ghosted.
That is, yes.
There wasn't witchcraft involved, but she did get an incarcerated person. She hired an incarcerated person to kill Aaron.
Well,
yeah,
there was. If you remember back from the Ghost Adventures, though, that I was on, not to do too much, but there was some weird things in that reading that I gave Aaron that connected to.
But was he married to her then?
To that?
Yes.
He was married to her when you did the reading?
Were they married when you did the reading?
I think they were dating at that point.
Because when Patti, when you and I did the opening of Zach's museum, I think they hadn't met yet, or they just met, right?
I think that was somewhere in there, yeah.
That was like 8 years ago, right? Yeah.
But it does happen, Patti, as you were saying. It does happen.
And then, who knows if there was some mystical thing, but I'd rather kill him than divorce him. And
what about my place? I mean, he killed her at my place, and I deal with that every day. There was a murder-suicide there, and with their spirits. Don't know if he would have had to divorce her, but he also didn't have to cut her up and eat and cook her either. So.
Oh yeah, Miss Courtney. By the way, Miss Courtney does Scared and Alone, and she's going to be paying a visit. There's a murder suicide at Bloody Mary shop.
The cooking.
I might just fire him and divorce him, but don't tell everybody. It happened a long time ago. It had nothing to do with it, but there's a lot of murder in New Orleans, and this is a murder suicide, and their spirits are some of the spirits that are there. So, it was a relationship that went wrong at a really bad time, in Katrina. So, yes, this happens. It's quite close to home, literally,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like close to home, literally for you. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, every day I got to deal with it. And it changes. And this is now 19 years later after it happened. And the spirits are still sometimes fighting. Still trying to figure out inside, it's never over at the moment. So yeah. So there was ghosts in the show too. So that I like the ghost angle. So they had everything. Haunted items. I have haunted items in my shop for sale. They had dolls, golems. I got that. Murder. We had it all.
I can't go to New Orleans because I don't know what I'm going to come home with. Probably all of it.
I have to talk people out of that foolishness every single day. You can leave your house if you feel that way.
No, I don't mean that.
There's no place you could go that isn't filled with spirits.
I don't mean that I'm afraid of carrying anything back. I'm talking about my bank account.
Oh, that too. Again, don't leave your house, turn off your computer, all those kinds of things. Yes, you will probably spend a lot of money. You probably drink too much too.
But I don't drink, but I'll spend it all in your shop.
Everybody's worried about, I'm going to bring a spirit home if I do this. So if I said what that woman said, you know, everything in this place is cursed. When you buy it, I'll lift the curse for you. I'd be so damn busy, and people already think everything in a witch shop is cursed. You know, they think that the ghosts in the haunted part are going to follow them. I said, babe, you better not be staying at any hotel or eating in any haunted restaurant here, because they're going to follow you from there too. You know, they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
I thought that was fantastic. I love that idea of cursing everything and only lifting the curse if you
Right.
purchase it. I thought that was like, oh my goodness, who needs alarms? That's
A
perfect.
lot of people think that, but yet, unfortunately, sometimes people do steal some things. And I put little videos out. It's like, okay, you know, that's on you. Everything's warded, you know.
See, I believe if you told somebody that, you didn't really curse your items, but you told somebody that, and then they stole something, they're going to create.
No, they stole
Yeah, they
something. So
will.
then I put a video out and saying that they were cursed, which I really.
I have a funny story about a curse. So that famous painting of me as the devil that is usually, that was in Ghost Adventures, and the famous painting of me is the devil. So that painting actually happened. This pillow right here, the painting on the pillow, it was really funny because I was living in Hollywood. I was bored out of my mind. I got dressed as the devil and I went down the street because I thought it was funny. And a friend of mine said, "Oh my God, this is so beautiful. You have to let me take your picture. You're going to love it." And I said, "No, it's silly. It's silly." No, let me. And then she did, and I loved it, right? So I loved it so much that I actually put that on my business card. And at the time, I was a celebrity impersonator. I played a lot of different characters, mostly Johnny Depp, but I played a lot of celebrity characters. And this fella comes up to me, "Oh my God, Willy Wonka. Oh my God, I have to take a picture." And I said, "Of course. I work on tips and donations if that is okay." And he says, "Oh, I don't have any money. I'm not gonna give you any money." And I said, "That's fine. You don't have to give me any money, but there has to be some exchange. I'll give you free pictures, so you can just give me your soul in exchange. That's perfectly fine." And he goes, "So I'm not going to give you any money. You're going to let me have some pictures?" And I went, "Yeah, take as many as you want, but you have to shake on the fact that I now possess your soul." And he's like, "But I'm not going to give you any money." "No, don't worry about it. I've got plenty of money. Don't worry about it. Don't you worry about it." So he takes picture. He's really happy. I hand him my business card, which has the image of me as the devil, and it says entrepreneur, psychic, medium, entertainer, collector of souls. You know, the usual things, right? I hand him my business card, and I said, "If you change your mind, you know where to find me." 1 week goes by, and he comes back. He looks like he hasn't slept in days. Please, he says, "I've got to have my soul back. Please let me have my soul." And he takes out $100 note. And my friend who played Edward Scissorhands is like, Willy Wonka, give him back his soul. Give him back his soul. And I went, "I was feasting on that one." Fine. Luxor, Nuxor, burst and burn. Oh. All right, there's your soul. He throws $100 at me and he runs away. Never see him again. Easiest $100 I ever made in my life.
I'm obsessed with you. I am obsessed
Weirded
with
out
you.
about the soul thing. People call and ask me, that's like, that is not a voodoo thing. Go away. "Oh, why won't you take my soul? I need work done." It's like, just go there. It's like, God, it's not good enough.
All right, that's hysterical. I like that little "you'll be hexed" though. I'm just thinking of, I don't have a shop or anything, but when I'm at conventions and stuff, if I have to step away for a while and leave my panties there alone, I should say,
as long as you're not leaving the huge orbs behind as well. So
exactly. Okay,
Haunted panties.
I am with you, Courtney. I loved the film. It's everything I remember from a kid being obsessed with Alfred Hitchcock, with the at the edge of your seat, just what's going to happen, that slow pace, the beauty of everything. The house was the star in itself, that old, new, scary, middle of nowhere. I don't even think I would stay there by myself.
I would if there weren't some silly trap door. Why is there a trap
Those are the
door?
plot holes again. Like, why does she have the clamps? Like, where did those come from, and what made her take the stuff out? What possessed her to take the stuff out of the head? I just couldn't. I was like, okay, you're in this room. There's this big scary wooden thing, and there's holes in the head, and you just happen to have some medical clamps, and you're like, I think I'm gonna pull them right out. I have them. I need those to work on dolls, but I don't know why she had them just laying around this empty farmhouse.
Pharmaceutical. She's in pharmaceutical at the nurse thing. Nurses always have them.
Yeah, they didn't say if it was medicine or clamps.
Yeah,
but still,
I loved the movie.
I question that.
But when I have that exact little thing from when I worked in a hospital, and it makes a really good roach clamp. So maybe it was.
And it is for dolls. She's right. That's how you fix broken dolls.
I use them for dolls. I have 3 sizes. I have them.
I don't work on dolls. My Black Phillip has a butthole still, and I have them. And I have these. Mine are antique embalming artery clamps, but I have them. You never know. That's not a plot hole to me. Because I
stay overnight at that house.
Colin, I'm coming.
There. We could go to Ireland.
Okay, and the blood in the vial. The tooth I like, the blood in the vial. I'm sorry, you'd have to pour it. No, you wouldn't leave it in a vial. I wouldn't. And was it her blood? Or was it her sister's blood? Whose blood was it?
I think
was it both of their blood?
Both of their blood, I think. I like this movie. I think
for the same DNA.
For a short, for a low budget horror film, I think they did a really good job. It didn't feel like a low budget horror, other than it, the limited cast and the limited, but Hereditary had a limited cast and location too. I thought it was very well done, and I enjoyed it. Plot holes and why there was the trap door. I didn't care. It just, I was interested. I kept my attention. So I applaud them
completely. And I like that we saw the girl ghost at the end, the sister in full form. So, that both girl ghosts are going to be okay. Probably take over the house. Everybody is dead. Happily ever after. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that as much as I love this movie, and I do love it on the rewatch, it was less impactful on my television. It's one of those that if you didn't see it in the theater, it wasn't as impactful. So I had the experience, obviously, of seeing it in the theater. Watching it at home, it was great, but it didn't pack as much of a punch at home on my TV.
Because the house was scary.
I guess we're all forgot. We don't get to go to big screens too much anymore, huh? I
do.
You do?
She's a movie girl.
There's not a lot here, I find, but maybe it's just my laziness.
I have a rule where because it's happened to me so many times where I've watched a movie and I think to myself, this would have been awesome on the big screen, and I missed it. So a long time ago, I decided that's my going out budget, because I don't drink, I don't go out to bars or do any of that stuff. So my going out budget, my entertainment budget is spent going to see movies the way that they were intended on the big screen.
That's good.
I salute that.
Who wants to go next? Mary.
Well, I've been saying little things all along. I didn't know we were taking turns. I really do like the film. I thought it was very good. I wasn't scared, but I didn't go in with the intention of being scared. I was intrigued, which I think is even more important. It held my attention the entire time. I liked the acting. All the actors, whether they were known or not, were good actors. They were all believable. The husband was a jerk, and I could say that about a lot of movies. But even the asylum, just seeing a few rooms, all of that stuff was very suspenseful, and it was all done really well. The magic was, 80%, 90% correct without maybe saying, oh, they're not doing this right. I liked it all. I would recommend it to my friends. And the low budget, kudos to that. I don't see why certain things have to be so expensive. They get to make more profit. Good.
Yeah.
Good for all.
I agree.
I loved it too. I loved it. I loved every second of it. It did remind me a little bit of Alfred Hitchcock. It did remind me a little bit of some of the the early cinema. I thought it was incredibly suspenseful. I did, however, have from the beginning my inclination. I kept thinking, oh, I bet the doctor is behind it. I bet the doctor's behind it. I bet the doctor's behind it. And then I really had hoped that the sisters were not dead. I thought maybe just maybe they're not ghosts. Maybe this has just been a plot the entire time to find out that, you know, this guy has tried to kill her, and maybe there was a double cross, and maybe both of the sisters are alive. But no, they were dead. Like a happy family, big dead happy family. But I liked it.
Anybody else? Anything else to say?
I have one more thing to say, that I do think for anyone that hasn't seen it, I think a lot of it, like watching it today, a lot of it was like, oh yeah, I kind of saw that come, even though I'd already seen it, but like thinking outside of the box, like a lot of it you do kind of see coming. There are predictable spots, but it's like, I think even though it's predictable, they do it in such an unpredictable way that it doesn't matter that you saw it coming, because you didn't see it coming the way that they do it, to me.
Right.
There's only
agree.
so many ways to tell a story. There's only so many things they, you know, and they used canned stuff, but they meshed it in with beautiful scenery and the way they filmed it and the story they were telling. It's like, okay, I'll run with it. It didn't feel old. It didn't feel, you know.
I found myself not trying to second guess it.
Mhm.
You know, not trying to expect anything, or like I usually, oh, I know what's going to happen here. I didn't try any of that. I just accepted it and watched it as it was, which is unusual for a movie because I'm usually always trying to guess ahead of myself.
Mhm.
Kept you in the now.
Yeah.
I
You got lost in the story it was telling.
You're welcome, everyone.
Courtney-
You're welcome.
Courtney, do you have any quotes?
I only have 2, and you guys stole one of them, which is fine because there was.
That's okay. Say it again.
So obviously it was the and if you're thinking of stealing something, you should know every item in here is cursed. Curses are lifted at the time of purchase. And I thought, if I ever own a shop, obviously that's what I will do. And then my other one is when she's the blind sister is sitting at the table with the girlfriend, and the golem is sitting at the table with them, obviously. And she's asking her, like, if you stayed here at night, and this scene, if you stayed here at night and someone knocked on the door, like it was a lunatic, would you let him in? And the girlfriend says, do I look stupid? To the blind sister, who says, I have no idea what you look like. You sound stupid. She says, excuse me? And then the sister says, do I look stupid? And she said, no. And then she goes, well, my sister and I were identical, so that must mean that she didn't look stupid either, which I thought was such an interesting backhanded way to be like, don't blame her for opening the door. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just loved it. So
It was a great exchange. It was a really well-written exchange.
You could feel the uncomfortableness creeping.
Colin says, a bit of trivia. This movie was filmed not too far from where French movie producer Sophie Toscan du Plantier was murdered 20 years ago under circumstances similar to the movie.
Interesting.
Gollum?
Yeah, Colin.
No,
Barrett
I'm in a
said.
Gollum was killed.
I
Oh, a
doubt
golem.
that.
Or just
Probably
a
murder.
husband, or just a husband tryst situation.
Wow.
Yeah, if it had the golem in it too, then we really should look up that case.
Yeah.
I'll look it up on the plane on the way over.
There's a mechanical golem still walking underneath Spain at one particular point, made hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So some of them were actually mechanical, which is interesting too.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Very few, but
All right. We don't have Jason's Mankey minute moment. Does anybody have a mini Mankey moment? No,
what
we
does
don't.
that mean?
We can't do him justice like that.
We can't do it. None of us can do what he does.
I don't know what that is.
His opinions are terrible and wrong most of the time, but his Mankey movie minutes are fantastic. So,
Yes. Sophie,
Mankey movie minute.
oh wait, can you tell me what happened with Thumper? How I hexed Thumper by accident?
Oh yeah.
Well, we were all just minding our own business and having a nice chat about the movie, and all of a sudden Thumper turned upside down. and he couldn't right himself, and he was talking upside down, and it took him a few minutes to figure out he was even upside down. He wasn't getting a nosebleed or anything. He was just hanging upside down.
We
And
blame
so
you.
May I
we
ask
blamed
who
you. We
Thumper
figured
is?
you got him.
Yeah.
Who's Thumper?
He's one of our guests that comes on.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not a rabbit. Okay.
Not a- He's
He
away.
is in another movie, but no, this is not that Thumper. So you can
Wow.
rewatch the show from last week, and you can see where he turns upside down. And I think it happens twice. So we blamed you.
Oh,
Figured
well,
it was you.
naturally. Yeah,
Mhm.
probably. Was Jason saying something ridiculous?
It might. It's quite possible, and you just
There you go.
missed
There you go.
Thumper instead.
Well, Thumper does like to imitate Jason sometimes, so I probably just my magic got confused. I'm sorry.
All right. On that note, we are getting close to the end. It is time for us to vote. Wands up or wands down on the oddity. Now that means all you guys in the chat room too. Wands up, wands down. Up, up, up.
Put that away, Heather.
That's my new wand.
No.
Does it rattle? It looks like a rattle. Does she?
It
Oh
does
my
rattle.
God, it's horrifying. Ah! It's making eye contact with me. Don't do that.
Okay,
Is
up,
that better?
up, up. This is our first
Yes.
unanimous in a
No.
long time. This is our first unanimous in a long time. Let's see. We got in the chat room. Wands way up. Wands way up. Long distance hexing from Tabitha. We love you, Tabitha. Wands up. Can't give full up. She'll give it a neutral. Robert gave it a neutral. Okay, we could have one neutral. We love you, Robert. Anyway, yeah, that is horrifying, Heather. And I'm a doll person, but it needs to be a really strong rattle. You got to put some like rocks in her head.
It rattles. It see hear the bells?
Oh, now I do.
I'm gonna hear those bells in my sleep now.
Okay, well, wands up and one neutral on this one. So if you guys haven't seen it in your Oddity, you can find it. It's streaming. I highly recommend it. Check it out. Next week, I will not be here, but there's a fabulous film. What are we seeing next week, Heather?
The Tragedy of Macbeth, which is a 2021 film. That is Macbeth. And if you cannot watch that one, just watch another version of Macbeth. Everyone uses the same script and we can have lots of conversations. In fact, I sense that we probably will be talking about other versions of Macbeth as well and doing some comparisons. So The Tragedy of Macbeth, 2021. If you can't, just watch anyone, and there's lots of options. I'll try to list some. We'll try to list some, but it's not hard to find a movie that is based on Shakespeare's play.
Thank you very much. Okay, before we go, does anybody have anything coming up that they want to talk about in the next? Richard?
I'll be well. I'm still planning to go to Scotland. I'm not going to Ireland where this was filmed, but I'll be in Scotland next year, next June. You can go to tracelesstours.com, and then it's the Sacred Tours. You could find Richard-Lael Tours. Lisa Parker is here, so many people may be going with us. Several people are. Anyway, and I'm easy to find. I'm the gentleman psychic. I'm really.
Anybody
easy.
else?
I'll talk about Mystic South again. We have that coming up in July. We're getting really close. We're only a couple months out now. I'll be there. I am on the board, but I also will be doing 2 presentations this year, not dolls. This year I'm going to be talking about the movie movie spells from the movies, as well as I'm on a panel about initiatory Wicca. So I'll be doing a few things and just walking around and hoping the conference and working on keeping the conference going smooth. So I hope to see everybody in Atlanta in July.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I will go. This weekend. Oh,
wait.
So Mary,
her lips are moving.
Did you have something? No. Yeah. No. Okay, I will talk. This weekend, anywhere near Penhurst Asylum, super haunted, super spooky. Everybody's going from both the paranormal world and the horror world. It's a para-horror combo. So join us there. Get wet, get cold, get spooked, scared. I will be scared and alone with people coming to visit me. So I'll just be imitating Courtney the whole time. That's this weekend. Go to penhurstasylum.com to find out more. Next weekend, I'm going to be at the Palmer House in Minnesota. This is a public event and filming if anybody wants to go at Spooky Haunted Palmer House. So I'm going to be with all those spooky kinds for the next few weeks. And the next week after that, Dallas, Texas. So go to my website, pattinegri.com. My whole schedule is there. Check out classes. You can take classes with Richard-Lael and myself at universitymagicus.com or magicu.org. And come back next Wednesday, please. Anything else? Then it's time to cackle. You guys, I get time to cackle. 1, 2, 3. Yay!